Hey everybody, welcome back to Delve or Die. Tonight we are going to continue with our following of Valzen and what has occurred thus far with the story. And so without further ado, let's get into the recap. So what I think I'm going to do is just cover briefly what has occurred up until now. So just a quick recap of what has occurred from the start until now. We have Bayana Kanud, leader of the Ardent Dawn, who sent Valzen to get a scroll out of a living being that is technically a dungeon. She instructed Valzen to not open the scroll. Valzen went into the living dungeon, and basically the series starts with him getting the scroll, about to leave, and someone confronts him. As they confront him, Valzen tries to lie, doesn't get the lie successfully, and ends up dispatching this person by removing their breath. He then heads back home. As he's leaving, he uncovers a letter by Valzen Colarn of House Colarn. This is basically the person in charge, or the nobility, or de facto leader, ruler of the council of their home, which is Valzen Dusk. So their home is Valzen Dusk. It is a rich town built in stone and rock. Wealth clearly on display. There is something that's going on with the town. They have curses going around, something's plaguing the town. As Valzen was approaching, dispatching this person, he knows that he is probably being charged with conspiracy. He opens the scroll outside of town and gets a vision of a drow, basically looks like talking to this colossal demon who's destroying the town, and him kind of, or the being, I guess, ordering it, I don't know, and them kind of working in tandem to destroy the town. Which kind of strikes him and puts fear in his heart. So then what he does is he starts to try and sneak around town. There's a wedding going on in town. He does some, side things as he's trying to get to his house. Two pickpocketing attempts occur. One by a human and one by tieflings. The tieflings managed to actually swipe the scroll from him. And he questions, at this point, two pickpocketing attempts toward the scroll. Like, is somebody trying to purposely get this from him, or was something, was he being targeted? He's not sure. Either way, he makes his way to his house. As he makes his way to his house, he uncovers an insignia from the League there, and he wonders why he found that there, until he sees that Irina Freth, a friend of his who also is with the Ardent Dawn, comes in to say that she believes someone was attempting to work with Bayana and House Colarn and was possibly playing both sides. And she believes that one of the underlings possibly has Valzen's family. She encourages him to go talk to Bayana at the Ardent Dawn, I guess, headquarters. So she says she can't travel with him, that she must go a different way. Which Valzen, kind of nods, and he acquires a healing potion and arrives at the location of Ardent Dawn, greeted by another member of the Dawn who runs out, handing him a letter, notifying he must go meet Bayana at once. And so we move into the last episode recap, where Valzen finds out through that letter that House Colarn did in fact kidnap his family. We kind of get a picture of the League of Ardent Dawn and how they live. They're currently in a cave. Throughout the cave, they have bodies kind of hung about, perhaps used for like necrotic folly and practices. We learn that the Ardent Dawn is mixed races, not just drow, and they also themselves deal with the accursed. They wear masks as part of their belief, so anytime they come in or out of their, I guess, location, their temple, they wear these masks. And the masks, we found out that they're like completely empty, so they don't have anything at all that's kind of covering what's going on, or covering their faces. So we proceed and get those little bits of art that's painted for us, and we proceed to Valzen getting to Bayana, So Brianna tells him that the scroll that he opened. Well, I guess she asks him first, did he open the scroll? He tries to lie, and then confesses that he did. To which he said, she asked why he didn't come to the Ardent Dawn right away, and she indicated that he needed to go secure his family first. And Brianna questions his loyalty to the Ardent Dawn before his family, to which he does deceive her and says that the Ardent Dawn is his first priority, but in this case he needed to go to his family. So that was fine. They come to decide together that they wanted to take over the town of Veltharn Kalaza. And they figured that it was time for the Ardent Dawn to rise up and no longer sit behind, and to take this town over and remove House Colarn. So Valzen was going to go ahead of them and basically, in the early morning, present himself to House Colarn and see basically what would transpire. Prior to doing that, he decides to head home and try and get some rest. On the way there, he meets a friend. The friend's name was Roll. And he also lets Roll gives a little more information, because Roll works with House Colarn but is a friend to Valzen, and tells him that his family is indeed being held in a dining room within House Colarn, and some type of force is keeping his family secured. Something otherworldly. He didn't recognize it. Valzen thanks Roll and then persuades him to leave town and tell him that something bad is about to happen. He believes something big. The persuade was successful, and Roll does leave. Then on his way home, Valzen gets into a battle with a cursed creature typically known to serve the Dawn. But this one seems to have lost its ability to obey, and not only that, typically they're not seen in town. So it struck him as real odd. And we learned at that point that the curse in town mostly affects the townsfolk's ability to maintain their control or their faculties. So he decides to we kind of make note of that curse now, and we don't know how prevalent that is. It could be that if you're on the streets, it could happen to you. We don't have enough knowledge of that as of yet. Valzen attempts to go to bed, twisting and turning. We did notice through the prior episodes that every time he would get angry, after he opened the scroll, he would seem to like black out, and he would clench his fist so hard. It was like he would start to kind of bleed a little. And finally, at this evening, he just lying in bed, twisting, the anger just seeped into him. He just blacked out. And at this point, it's almost like a possession. He goes into the air. It starts to fly into the air, eyes open and they're bright green, and he starts chanting in a language he's never heard of. A portal is opened around him with this large infernal creature which comes out and starts destroying the town. At first, he has no idea what's going on. It's almost like he's blacked out, right? He has no faculties, no mental faculties going. But as the theatrics continue through town and things are getting destroyed, he manages to get a hold of himself. And as he manages to get a hold of himself, he learns that, or he sees that he is in fact just tearing up this city. And that's not something he wants. And so he's just thinking, like, what can I do? And normally this wouldn't bother him, the type of person he is. But being this is his home, it really did bother him. Apart from that, if this was somewhere else, he probably would honestly find it humorous and may enjoy himself. And so we kind of end with him, and we said that he had tears in his eyes, heading toward House Colarn, and all he's thinking about is Mithara, Larilyn, and Theferin. Mithara, his wife, Larilyn, and Theferin, his twins, one a daughter, one a son. So he's heading there to with this infernal creature to I don't know, we don't know, but also we know that the Ardent Dawn is supposed to be heading there as well. We do know that we did say he was resting, so going from that resting, he didn't complete it, so it's probably somewhat early in the morning as to when that occurred. So now we have, let's see here, let's go back to town. Okay, so we know that, picking up now and moving into where we will be for this session, we know that he is heading toward House Colarn, and some of the town is starting to get demolished. I said about half the town already was just getting obliterated as he's marching through town. So I guess the first question that I want to ask our beloved GM Oracle is, as he has marched through town, I assume it would be more than likely that he, Valzen, and this creature would have people looking to possibly fight against them. So, is there folks fighting against him as he's destroying the town? I'm going to say very likely that he is. So, again, are there creatures, are there townsfolk fighting against him as he's trying to progress toward House Colarn? Yes, and an unexpected change in relationship between people involved in a situation. A character's mother is actually their aunt. Alright. So yes, and it's an extreme thing. So yes, people are fighting against him. And something happened. And it's extreme. So while people are fighting against him, I'm thinking that his friend Iraina is possibly in front of him, waving him down like, hey, stop, what are you doing? And Valzen looks down at her in the middle of the street. Green eyes, just inflamed. It's almost like his eyes, I picture them as like neon glowing with like almost a fire, like a green fell flame, kind of like from, I guess, like Warcraft. The fell is just like kind of smoking from his eyes as he looks down. And he hears a chant, he starts to chant again, but he doesn't know what he's saying, but he has a little more faculties now, and he seems to be fighting. So, question I have, firstly, is, let's go to the character sheet, and let's do a roll. The question I have is could Valzen, for the moment, get a hold, because being it's an extreme circumstance, I first lean toward this creature just grabbing Iraina and just ending her. So I'm thinking that perhaps Valzen is trying to grab control of this creature for a moment and prevent this from happening. So I'm going to roll an Arcana check, and let's see with Arcana if he can manage to grab a hold of this thing to save Iraina. 18 plus 1 is a 19. I'm going to say that it's almost likely he manages to, for a moment, get a hold of this thing. So with a 19, almost certain, does Valzen manage to save Iraina from certain doom? No, he does not, even with a 19. That stinks. So, as Valzen gets paused for a moment and thinks he's got a breakthrough, his eyes kind of flash where the green the green like infernal fell. You can kind of see it dissipate for a moment, and she sees his reds, and he looks down, and you can hear him yell out, "Iraina, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." And then the fell comes right back as if he's been captured again. And this creature, you see, it's just this large hand. It's you know, I would say it's the size of buildings, bigger than the size of buildings. This thing is just massive. Comes down and just smashes Iraina right in front of him. Creature lifts its hand back up, and Valzen, just inside, is getting destroyed because he just watched his friend, which he thought he had the ability to, I guess, he thought he had the strength to control this thing, and he did not. Just didn't work, at least according to our Oracle GM has told us. So let's go ahead and go back to our map here for a moment, and let's progress some of where we were. on the map. So we were over here. I'm going to say that he probably saw Iraina over here and unfortunately took her out. We're going to have to redraft this map, which we will next session. I'll go in and kind of mess with it to show some of the devastation. I'm not an artist, so it's going to look ugly, but that's okay. So anyway, we get here. Unfortunately, Iraina has been gone. Other folks have been attacking. So I guess the next question for our oracles, we know we asked, were other folks attacking? Is there other town folk that he may recognize as he's in passing that may contribute even more to what's eating away at him destroying his town? So I'm just going to say it's equal chances. Is there anybody else standing in his way? Everybody can see this destruction, or at this point is everybody running? So I guess the question that I'm going to ask is, at this point, is everybody running away? Yes. Okay. So everybody is running away at this point in time now, which means it leaves him open to make his way toward House Colarn. Question. Well, let's go ahead and approach House Colarn with this creature. So let's go ahead and go back to our map, and let's go ahead and approach House Colarn. So he manages with this creature to continue on, moves forward, get outside of House Colarn. Him and this creature here. You can see the doors at this point now. And he's looking straight in front of the door. Burning anger still is seeping over him. And so, at this point, Valzen, I guess the question is Valzen is going to try again now at House Colarn, knowing that his family is there, to get control of this thing. He seems to have kind of broke through for a moment there earlier, and he's going to try again. So let's see. Let's roll another Arcana. That's a natural 20 with a 21. So no need to consult the Oracle here or the GM. We know that this, in fact, managed to capture. He manages to get. His hand, all of a sudden, he's floating, and his eyes are glowing green, and you can see both his hands just come to his side, like boom, and his eyes come back and they're red, and he's fully in control at this point now, and he's looking at this demon, and he kind of sets himself down gently to the ground, right in front of the building. The building is multi-storied. How many stories we don't know yet, but we do know the building is multi-storied. Actually, let's ask rather than just determine it. Oh, fair Oracle GM, being equal, is this house, or is this keep, because I'm going to call it a keep, is this keep multi-storied? Yes, it is. Okay. Is the keep less than 3 floors? I'm going to say very likely. Is the keep less than 3 floors? No. But a new character is revealed. The gang leader was actually just a pawn working for the rich merchant, etc. So a new character is revealed. Reinforcements appear. Okay, so I'm thinking now the Ardent Dawn starts to show up in numbers as he's out there, and he can kind of see and know that chaos is going on. So here's an additional question. Would this keep be armed with any type of siege, or being that it's the keep of the town, would they have any type of protection against the keep that would prevent this large creature from going in? I'm going to say that it's very likely that this place is pretty armed. We said the town was rich. No, it's not likely that it is armed. So it's not armed at all. But Valzen has control. So I guess at this point, Valzen having the creature under his control, and seeing the Ardent Dawn come in, is the Ardent Dawn currently actively attacking? I'm going to say it's equal chances that the Ardent Dawn is attacking right now. Is the Ardent Dawn currently attacking House Colarn? Yes. But a new character is revealed. The gang leader is actually just a pawn working for a rich merchant. So, yes, but a new character is revealed. Perhaps somebody runs out to distract emotions. Who would run out? A chaotic void. So we have something's coming to distract the emotions with a chaotic void. A new character. Is this new character, does this have to do with House Colarn? Yes, and a useful item is found or lost. Okay, so we're gonna say that someone runs out. Perhaps a wizard. A wizard runs out. Let's see. Let's generate an NPC to see what this thing is. Okay, so it's a tiefling healer. A tiefling healer. I don't think tiefling. I'm gonna try one more roll here because I'm looking more for a drow. So I just want to get a drow because I think that would match. Okay, here we go. A drow. Who's neutral runs out. Maybe the merchant of the town. They want to accompany. Their motivation's about love. So perhaps she runs out to the Farron. So, not the Farron. Excuse me, Valzen. And so let me see here. I'm gonna just put in my notes real quick that we have in the one note. Female drow. What is her name? Let's generate her name. Female drow. Alright. Drow names. Let's see. Drow names. Female. Alright, so we'll name her Talreen Sarir. Alright, a female drow named Talreen Sarir comes out. She's with House Colarn. We know that she's friendly because we had a good qualifier, and the last one told us she was friendly. She's friendly. Runs up to Valzen, and we saw that in the tool. It told us that we've moved it on, but however we know that it had to do with love and assisting him. So we're gonna say that she says to Valzen that she tells him that his family is being held. Would she know what floor his family is being held on? I'm gonna say it's very likely. With almost certain. It's almost certain she knows. Yes. Okay. So she does know where his family is. And she tells him that his family is being held on the 3rd floor. But a new character is revealed, reinforcements appear. The gang leader was actually just a pawn working for a rich merchant. Yes, but unfortunately for him, Bayana was working with Zeron. What a turn. So Bayana is working with Zarin, who's the leader of House Colarn, which puts him in more of a rage. Talreen tells Valzen that was she possibly the one holding the portal up? I'm gonna say it's equal. Was Talreen the one who was keeping that otherworldly, that gate or whatever on his family there? Yes, she was. So, being that it's useful, and we know that she's going to say that she was the one holding the gate and she has released them. She was using some kind of divine magic because it said she was some kind of healer. So Talreen tells Valzen his family is being held. We said that she knows where they're being held. Is the family on the first, second, or third floor? Is the family on the 1st floor? I'm going to say it's very unlikely they're on the 1st floor. Yes, the family is not on the first. Well, I guess I said, is the family on the first floor? Yes. Okay, so the family is on the first floor, so we don't even have to go up to multiple floors. Family is on the first floor. Okay, so she tells Valzen the family is being held on the first floor. Valzen looks at her, and he asks Tellerine. He says, Tellerine, please tell me, is all of my family together? And mind you, this big, giant, infernal creature's there. So I guess the question is before we even get into that, could Valzen perhaps calm her and he can tell her that the thing is under his control. He looks at her and he says, relax, relax. It's me. I've got it. I've got it. So he is going to try and persuade her that he's in control of this thing, and this thing is doing good. So with a 9, I'm going to say it's unlikely at this point. She's probably very fearful that this thing's about to come and start coming after her. So it's probably unlikely. Does she, with a 9, very unlikely, does she believe he's got control of this thing? No. Okay. She doesn't believe it. She tells him where his family is, and she's fearful. As she's fearful, does she still trust Valzen to tell him any more information? I'm going to say that's unlikely. Does Tellerine trust him to give him any more information, seeing this large creature's out, or based on what she saw, the circumstances going on, watching the town get destroyed? No, she doesn't. Okay, so can Valzen once more try and persuade her to maybe coerce her once more into thinking that he does in fact have this creature under his control as she's exiting with a 17. I'm going to say with a 17 roll, it's possible. It's possible. So we're going to say it's probably equal chances. And leaving, does he manage to get her attention once more? Because he grabs her hand, trying to really get this information out of her. Not forcefully grab her hand, just gently, out of respect. And no, she takes it and she books out of there. So Valzen knows his family somewhere on the first floor. He knows that the gate that was holding, or whatever it was, she didn't even tell him, because I think he wanted to know what kind of power that was. She didn't tell him. He looks at this large creature that's still there now, which is kind of sitting, I guess, dormant. And I guess so, being that he kind of ties that as he gets enraged, this thing kind of, whatever it is in him, kind of comes out and gets dominated. He managed to get a hold of his feelings for a moment and managed to control this thing. But now he's burning with rage again. So now that this rage is starting to seep, his eyes, he's starting to have a hard time as he knows what's going on and hears that Bayana was working with Zarin inside the keep. And he wants to try and maintain control of this large thing, so that he could prevent it from absolutely just destroying this town, this home. So question, does Valzen manage to keep control? So we're going to do another Arcana check first to see what our roll is. 18. Okay, so I think it's pretty likely that he would be able to maintain control and keep his faculties down. Well, that was for the magic portion of it. What about his feelings? Because we know it's tied to his feelings. I'm thinking maybe insight, because he knows it's getting tied to his feelings. Let's do an insight. So he rolled an 18 for the Arcana and a natural 20 for the insight. So he knows now. He definitely knows this is coming from his emotions. This anytime he starts to lose it, this creature just goes buck wild crazy. And so with a 17, now that we know he's figured it out, with a 17, Fair Oracle Dungeon Master, Does he manage to keep his ability to not allow this rampaging creature to destroy or start just wailing into House Colarn? He's getting angry again. He understands it's coming. He manages to get the insight to know this. Is he able to keep it down? With a 17, I'm going to say it's likely. Does Valzen manage to keep this creature at bay? No. And I change to the physical environment. Something happens. The creature, we're going to say, just starts pummeling into the house. And Valzen's eyes go green again and fire. Entryway gets destroyed. Does the creature start marching into the house? He knows he's angry, and perhaps, I guess, so let's do another insight check. And this is what I'm thinking. Let's see what our insight check is first. So I'm thinking that the creature, being it's tied to his emotions, let's see if he can figure out, does Valzen now figure out perhaps, well, let's ask the Oracle to see if first my leading is what I'm thinking. Does the creature head toward whatever he's angry with? Is it going toward what he's angry with? I'm going to say that it's likely. So does this creature head toward whatever his anger, like the target of his anger? No. Does the creature head toward the target of his love? Does the creature head toward the target of his love? Yes. Oh my gosh. So it has nothing to do with revenge or anger. The infernal being is heading towards his loves. But he knows this because his insight was so high. He knows that the creature is heading toward his family. Okay, so with that being said, and he knows that the creature's heading toward his family, the last question, which is going to be equal chances. Actually, I think it's going to be almost certain. Based on anger, he can't control this creature. It's rummaging. Is this creature trying to kill whatever it is that is considered his biggest love? Yes. Dang. So I'm notating this. So this creature doesn't care about House Colarn at all. This thing is going right after his family. Valzen, knowing this, is in a state of just chaos. His mind is just... He's no longer emotional in anger. His stomach is in knots. He's got butterflies. He's thinking, what have I done? What am I doing? What's going on here? We're gonna try and do another Arcana check to see if he's going in there, and Valzen has not gone in yet. He's watching this creature just start to just destroy this building, heading slowly. It's so large. Does Valzen manage to get control? I'm gonna give him advantage for this, I think, and this is the reason. He's no longer angry. I feel like he would be knowing that it's heading toward his family. The anger subsided now that he's figured that out, and he's trying to get this thing. He's trying to get a hold of it so he can dismiss it or something. So, we're gonna go ahead and roll Arcana to see can he get a hold of it with advantage. 17 and an 18, both good rolls. So I think it's very likely. Does Valzen manage to get a hold of this thing prior to making it to his family? Can Valzen stop the being from getting toward his family? Very likely. Yes. And a useful item is found or lost. Yes, so he gets control of it and manages this time, and he locks it in for a moment. and a useful item is found or lost, we're going to say that the creature for a moment makes eyes with... Does the creature make eyes with Bayana? I'm going to say it's equal. Does the creature make eye contact with Bayana? Does the creature see Bayana? No. And a new character is revealed, reinforcements appear. In fact, doesn't. But perhaps it does make contact with Colarn. And quite a few reinforcements. Valzen, seeing this again, tries to control his rage. He is just, at this point, extremely angry. I wouldn't say angry, but he's holding back the rage from what has occurred. Doesn't know where Bayana is, but sees Colarn right in front of him. I'm assuming that he will take, knowing what he will do, he's going to just take this thing and pummel not only Colarn, but he is also going to pummel all these people that are there with this creature. And actually, he manages to kind of almost start to spit out in this language that he doesn't understand. Like for some reason, it's like he knows it. And he starts chanting, and the creature holds its hands up as Valzen does. So Valzen starts to hold his hands up and is chanting in a language he doesn't understand, and his hand starts glowing kind of like a fell color, green. And the creature does the same thing. And then Valzen launches his hand down toward Zarin and I guess the henchmen that are around him. Being that occurs, I think it's pretty likely. From the sky comes, it seems like a portal opens almost, or like a gate opens, and out of it comes like it's not large, but a fairly decent size. It's like a kind of like an asteroid or a comet, I would imagine, but surrounded in like green fell flame that comes from this creature, just launches straight at Colarn and those other beings. Being that has occurred, question, oh mighty GM, does that which comes from the sky and has been summoned from the infernal crush and defeat Colarn and the henchmen? I'm going to say it's almost certain. Does this thing that gets launched, fairly large, harm Colarn and its henchmen? Yes. And a new character is revealed. Again, okay, we know that already. We know Bayana's working with him. And now we can see from our descriptor focus, we have a breached viewpoint. So probably at this point now, the building is just destroyed. You could see inside. I would say it was probably already destroyed, but now more of it has just been destroyed, especially with this has opened up. Does Valzen happen to be able to manage to get... Can he see his family? I'm going to say it's equal chances that he could see his family at this point. Can Valzen see his family? No. Okay. So perhaps his family is on a different part of the building that is there. So he knows he's just dealt with Zarin and some of his henchmen. We know that. So I guess the next question is does the Ardent Dawn folks, are they reacting to Valzen? Do they seem hostile toward him at this point? Does the Ardent Dawn folks seem hostile? I'm going to say it's unlikely. Unlikely. Are the Ardent Dawn folks hostile toward Valzen? No, they're not. Okay, good. Okay, so Valzen, seeing that the majority of the Ardent Dawn is assaulting and looking out, and they're kind of looking at Valzen and cheering him, getting his faculties together, kind of looks at this thing, and as he knows before, his hands kind of summon this creature. He clenches his fists again, closes his eyes, and he's thinking about trying to release, trying to let go. I guess the better question is let's do an Arcana check first to see, could he could he perhaps know how to dismiss this thing based on some of the feelings he's had? He wants to try and dismiss it. 16. Okay, so we're getting some good rolls tonight, which is good. Things are going in his favor. So I'm going to say it's likely that he's able... Does Valzen manage to focus himself and dismiss this creature? No. And something the PCs think is one way is actually another. So he doesn't manage to dismiss this thing. And perhaps it starts to get a hold of him rather than him get a hold of it. So maybe where he thought he was fighting it at this point, maybe this thing that's inside him manages to get a hold again. Does this thing manage to get a hold of him again? Being equal chances. Does this thing get a hold of him again? Yes. Okay. So now that we know, eyes go green again. Back to the fell. This is just a contest of back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Does the creature resume its rampage on this building? I'm going to say it's likely. Yes. Okay. The creature's just resuming. Valzen at this point doesn't care anymore about this creature or what's going on. Only thought is family. Only thought is family. So knowing that only thought is family, he wants to try and sever the connection with this thing. He's going to try once more with a 7. Can Valzen sever his connection to get this thing so he can run in and grab his family? I'm going to say it's unlikely with a 7. Does Valzen manage to sever the connection? Yes. Okay. So he does that's great. He manages to sever the connection, drops down, but sees his creature still going. And I guess when we say sever the connection, it's not that he can just separate himself from it. More so, does sever the connection mean, asking the Oracle, does sever the connection mean that I guess, okay, so harm belief. I'm trying to think of a way he can manage to separate himself. I think, based on harm belief, he believes that when he's angry is when this thing gets out of control and he cannot control it or himself. Being that he is no longer angry at the moment, perhaps that is what allowed him to, I guess, I'm not going to say sever the relationship or control, because I feel they're still linked. Something here is beyond his control. This is beyond his control completely. But he managed to separate himself because he's no longer enraged at the moment. More cause for concern. So we saw part of the building already get demolished. Does he manage to this raging creature continue on into the side of the building that his family perhaps is in? Say it's very likely, but does the creature continue on? No. Okay. Creature stops. And we have a colossal atmosphere for descriptor focus. So creature stops. And perhaps in the atmosphere, the gate that was open before starts to open up above the creature. And the way I picture this gate is like, it's kind of like green swirling. And it's like a black hole that kind of opens for a moment. And the creature kind of just, you could see it just kind of like spaghettify into it. And then the gate closes. Valzen looks. And seeing that the creature's gone, and he's kind of back together, all the destruction that has occurred, first thing he does is wants to run in and find his family on the first floor. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and generate a random dungeon, which I started here, but I didn't finish. So it's going to be House Colarn. We're going to leave it at dungeon level 1, party size 1 in the Underdark. Dungeon size is small. The layout's going to be a keep. We do want exits on peripheral egress, meaning will there be exits out that lead out? That will kind of give us like a out into town thing. So yes, that's fine. Room layout is scattered. Room size is small. Doors are standard. Corridors errant. I'm using Donjon bin. Map select is gamma, so that's why I chose that. So we're going to go ahead and let it construct the dungeon. Okay, so probably half of this is already gone, realistically too. I was thinking like the left half is probably destroyed. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go to our dungeon page, go to our maps, let's zoom out, let's go ahead and drag this in. Perfect. We're going to take this and make this fit into this. Perfect. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I want to grab Valzen's token. We're going to copy it, put it here in the dungeon. Looks like this is the entrance right here. We're going to make him a little smaller. Let's see if we can put him. Nope. Awesome. Okay. So now we know where we are. So he runs in. He runs in and is going for his family and breaks through the door. At this point, there's chaos everywhere. Runs into the first room. Searches around. What perhaps does he see in this first room? So I guess at this point now what we're going to ask is, let's go to our oracle and generate. Well, technically, so the cool thing about this donjon is it actually generates the rooms and everything. It actually tells us what's in everything. So we can actually use this and maybe perhaps see what this is. So room 18. What is room 18? Let's see. Room features. Someone scrawled on the room. I don't think so. This is a house. This is a fine establishment, if you will. It says there are darrows in here. I think darrows are like, yeah, they're like kind of like a madman. So we can say that they're servants, and there is one darrow in this room. Looking at the darrow, Valzen sees the darrow. Servant looks. Is the darrow hostile toward him? I'm gonna say it's very likely that this darrow is hostile. Is this darrow hostile? No. Okay. And something useful is found. Perhaps explore expectations. Let's see. The darrow will warn him that his family is in a portion of the building that has been... Is his family in the portion of the building that got destroyed even though he didn't see him? Is his family in the portion of the building that got destroyed even though he didn't see them? No. Okay. So the family's in... He tells him that the family's up ahead. Does the darrow know where his... Does this darrow servant know where his family is? I guess... Well, the question is I'm sure the darrow's hurried. It would make sense. Is the darrow going to stick around to talk to him anymore? I'm going to say it's unlikely that this darrow... Is the darrow going to stick around to talk to him? No. It's not. Valzen at this point is pissed. He's not playing around. He sees if he can intimidate this thing, and looks and says, "Listen, you, I need to know where my family is immediately. Tell me right now before you leave if you know." With an 18, threatening this creature's life, it's probably very likely this darrow... Well, I guess, okay, so question, does the darrow know where his family is? No. The darrow looks at him and says, "Good sir, I don't know where they are. I don't know where they are." And he he kind of shrugs off Valzen's hand and he runs out. So Valzen, knowing Valzen, this is of no use to him, and continues on. So we're coming up to corridor. Let's see, so we're in here. Let's see, corridor. What corridor is this? Doesn't tell us. So there's nothing in this corridor here. So let's go ahead and roll in our table here. Since that doesn't have anything, let's see if the Excel tool tells us there's anything in this corridor. So we're going to go ahead and go to dungeon. Let's see here. Let's roll. A corridor, room or corridor encounter. It is empty. Okay, so there's nothing there. Okay. So he gets into this corridor, sees nothing, continues on. Moving up. Gets into this next room. Room 12. Let's go and see what room 12 holds for us. Room 12. Let's see here. Nothing here that would relate to an inventor. Kobold inventor. We're not going to use this. I guess so. The question is, let's see what the almighty dungeon generator tells us. It's a room with a narrative event. A narrative event occurs. He comes in. Does Valzen see his family here? I'm going to say that it's unlikely that he would see his family here. Does Valzen see his family here? He does. Okay. So not that far in and we get to our family right away. Okay. Does Valzen... Let's roll a perception. Five. I'm assuming he probably doesn't see anything realistically. Probably because he's so consumed with his family. Okay, so question of equal chances. Does Valzen see all of his family there? His wife and his 2 children? Does Valzen see his family there? Okay, they're all there. Next question is, being that they're there and Zarin has been removed, is Bayana there? Is Bayana there? Yes, but something that PCs think to be one way is actually another. Destroy riches, subsurface people. Bayana looks at Valzen in anger, and Valzen sees his 2 children tied up in a corner and his wife, with Bayana walking toward her. Does Bayana grab Valzen's wife? Yes, and it changed to the environment. So I guess some of the building starts to collapse around them because of all the damage that has occurred. And Valzen can look and see that the building is starting to collapse, and looks at his children and looks at his wife. Bayana starts to grab his wife and pull her toward her. And does Bayana start to threaten him? I guess the question is does Bayana intend to harm, being that she walked over, does Bayana intend to harm Valzen's wife? No. Increased attention. Maybe she's doing it to grab his attention. So Valzen, looking back and forth, he's now focused more on his wife than his children. Are Valzen's children secured in the sense of being that his attention's on his wife? Is something going on with his kids? Is something going on with Valzen's kids? Equal. Yes. Okay. Transform weapon, immerse storm. Those don't really help with this situation. Transform weapon. Perhaps Bayana kind of summons a weapon, like a warlock would. Bayana summons a weapon and holds it right beside Mithara's throat. And she says, "I'll do it! Don't come any closer, Valzen, or I'll tear her throat! Don't come!" So I guess the question I have is does she mean it? She was trying to grab the attention because something was going on with his kids. Or I guess so we have two questions here. The first one is, we saw that Valzen does he have the insight to guess that she really will do what she's trying to do? Is she really going to do what she says she's going to do? He's trying to read her. 13. Okay. And then does he perceive anything going on? Because we said that something was going on with his kids. While he's trying to do that, he's kind of trying to keep an eye on his kids. Does he perceive them? Natural 20. Yes, he does. Okay. Okay. So is something harmful going on to his kids right now? Like, is there more danger heading toward his children? No. And something the PCs think is one way is actually another. Perhaps his two children are over there they get something and they're getting something to release themselves. They're small, but they're capable, and one of them is crying. The boy is crying. The girl is trying to keep it together and try and help them both. And the boy is crying over there. And you can see him look over and kind of shake his head. Because that damn crying boy, always crying. Looks back at his wife. Mithara yells out for a moment to him, "Oppose travel." So I think with opposed travel, she's probably going to say to him, "Don't come over here. Do not. Take the children, flee." She's probably yelling to him, "Take the children, flee." And he honestly loves his wife more than his kids. The kids, I'm not saying he doesn't love his kids, but his wife means more to him. I guess because that was his first love, maybe. So he is definitely right now focusing on the wife rather than the children. She tells him not to come over. Does he listen to her? I'm going to say it's unlikely that he listens to her. Does Valzen listen and not start to make his way over to her? So does Valzen listen? Yes. Okay, so as he goes, the fighting in him comes back. Bayana, seeing him kind of retract, looks behind her. And I think, does Bayana desire to flee the situation right now? Or does she decide, I don't know if she wants to make it more, if her intent is to strike at him. I think she's really upset with him opening that scroll. I think she is just so angry. And she feels she wanted that for herself. And she's seen what's happened. And I think she's fearful of Valzen now. And maybe she wants to strike him where it hurts the most. And she knows that. I guess so then the question is does she want to take this up a notch in relation to the threats? Does she have the intent to kill his wife right in front of him right now. Does she have that intent to do that? I'm going to say that it's likely. No, okay, she doesn't have the intent to kill his wife now. Does she want to take the wife with her perhaps as collateral? Does she want to take his wife with her as well? No. An unexpected change in relationship between people, characters, was actually there. Something else. Okay. So then, here's a new question I have. Is his wife is there? And, his wife is a thief. Can his wife at this point, knowing that she has kind of been going back and forth, can she take the upper hand? And can she herself, through kind of like acrobatics maybe perhaps, allow herself to finagle her way through and maybe get this dagger out of her hand? That's a natural 1. I'm gonna say no, she doesn't manage to. Well, I guess the question is would she have tried? And yeah, I mean, we rolled that she was gonna try and finagle her way through. She doesn't. Being that she tried to get away, does this change Bayana's opinion? She's like trying to, she tried to kind of shrug away. Does Bayana grab her tighter? Does her resolve increase on his wife? I'm gonna say that's very likely. Yes, it does. Does her intent increase as well, knowing that the situation's escalated and she's trying herself also to gain control of the situation? His wife's putting that pressure. The kids are the kids close to being free between what them two are doing for themselves? They're not. Okay, so now is she likely to increase her resolve against his wife? No, not as well either. Okay, so she seems to not want to do it. Attract outside. I think Bayana's going to want to try and, at this point, push her forward and get out of there. I think that's what she's going to try and do. Does Bayana desire to flee at this point now? I'm going to say it's almost certain she's going to want to try and flee. Yes, she does. She wants to try and flee. Okay, so knowing that she wants to try and flee, does she push his wife toward her? Does Bayana successfully push his wife toward her? Or does she attempt to push her away? So I'm going to say it's equal. Yes, okay. So now here's the question that I have. So then, since you try to push her away, does Mithara have the ability to try and do something with her acrobatics as she pushes her to perhaps try and strike at her, or use some kind of cool move to, as she gets pushed away, maybe like hop around her and try and maybe like drive into her a dagger? So let's roll her acrobatics, because she's going to try and do something kind of fancy. Rolls a 17. Okay, so with the 17, Epic GM Oracle, does she manage to? I'm going to say that it's likely that she manages to pull off this feat. Yes. So yes, but unexpected relationship involves in this. Okay, so this doesn't. It's not applicable here. Yes, she does. She manages to kind of do her swing around, gets her dagger in place, and she tries to penetrate it right in the back as she manages to flip around. So let's go ahead and roll her to hit. See if she manages to make a hit in here. She rolls a 12. Does a 12 hit her? I'm going to say it's unlikely. Does a 12 hit her? Yes. But something useful is found or lost. What's useful? Proposed path. A useful item. She does, but what would she have that Valzen would want right now? Perhaps she knows where the scroll is, and she gets striked. Does the strike that Mithara does, is it fatal? I'm gonna say that it's likely. Is the strike that Mithara did fatal? Yes. So Mithara goes in and just does the fatal strike, hitting Bayana. As Bayana starts to fall and takes the dagger, she kind of collapses, looks at Valzen and says, "Now," and she kind of is choking on her herself as she looks and says, "You'll never get the scroll," and kind of falls, eyes out. Valzen looks at Mithara and yells, "Are you okay?" And she says, "Yes." I'm gonna say this is a fairly large room. Let's look at the room and see what it looks like. 5, 10, 15, 20, 20. I mean, it's a 25-foot room, so it's fairly large. So he doesn't have to yell, but kind of a louder talk. "Are you okay?" She responds, "Yes, I'm okay." "The children." He turns around to look and validate that the children are there. I'm going to say it's very likely the children are still there. Yes, they are. Are the children okay? Almost certain. Nobody came. Did anybody come in at this point? I'm going to say very unlikely. Nobody came in. Okay. Nobody came in. Lastly, are the children unharmed? Yes. Okay. So both Mithara and Valzen run over to their children. I say that Mithara and Valzen embrace their children. Look, and both of them inspect both their bodies. Valzen, first thing he says to the boy is, "Why must you always cry? You need to be stronger. We must get out of here." He looks at Mithara, and Mithara looks at him, and she says, "We must not go home. We must go somewhere else." Valzen, thinking about Bayana's now been taken care of. Colarn has also been removed. And Bayana mentioning the scroll. Clearly, something with that scroll. He tells his wife briefly, "We must talk. I must tell you what has occurred. We must go. I think we'll head back to the Ardent Dawn. Come with me." And she nods in agreement, trusting her husband. They take their children and they check the children, and both the children seem to be okay. The girl looks at the father and says, "Father, I did as you said. I kept my composure. I kept my composure." He nods and he seems very proud and looks at the boy and shakes his head in disgust. And do they manage to get, I guess the question is now, do they manage to get out of there peacefully? So I guess I'm going to say it's just equal. Do they manage to get out of this place? There's only 2 rooms, luckily for him, from where he entered. So do they manage to get out of there? I'm going to say it's very likely yes. And as they start to make their way out, more of the building collapses. And things start to kind of fall apart in town. By now it's probably getting close to afternoon to evening as all this has transpired. And so Valzen and Mithara get the children together, and Valzen says, "Perhaps we should make our way home, grab some food and head." Mithara probably, I would say she's more level-headed and says, "No, we must go straight. We must go straight. We'll follow wherever it is you said." She's not really aware of Valzen's other side yet. So Valzen has some grievous things to share with her. And so I think that's where we'll leave it tonight, is with them outside the destroyed House Colarn. Bayana Canute, the leader of the Ardent Dawn, taken care of. Zarwan Colarn also taking care of House Colarn collapsing in disarray. The town half destroyed in chaos. And Valzen, with his family in tow, needs to now he needs to tell them what has happened and relay all of the sins he's committed, I guess, at this point against his family, and see how his wife and children react to what has occurred. So yeah, I mean, that was a pretty changing thing here. Well, we thank you so much, and look forward to the next one, hopefully in a week. As always, we thank you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Help me out. Leave me feedback. Let me know so I can continue to make games and do other things if you want to see more. I have lots of other systems that I can do along with this. So thanks. Catch you next time.